Press Y to honk. Honk. I really wanted to be able to honk, but I can only duck call.
You can only duck call.
I tried earlier to like force it to be a honk instead of a duck call.
It was still a duck.
It was still a duck. I tried, you guys, so we had to do the recording of Press Y to honk.
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 Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the season of Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by the Doc Owl of Geese and Ladium.
Hello.
And yes, we have been honking it up lately.
We have been honking it up.
Doing our honking best.
For the record, this podcast is not just about honking.
But what if it was?
I want to tell them that earlier you were doing that, and at first I thought that maybe your chair was squeaky, and then I thought that you farted and were just like covering it up. And then I realized that it was a honk.
Good times.
So we played as some Goose today, or not today, this week.
We did. Also, we got some spookiness in.
We got some spookiness in.
Our spooky times for October.
Yeah,
early
kind of. October, I guess.
It is what it is.
Close enough.
So we recently played through Untitled Goose Game. It's the actual title of the game.
Uh-huh.
And also Resident Evil Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk to you about them today.
Yeah, very different games, honestly.
Very different games. Oh man, let's begin with some Goose.
Some Goose, some honking.
Some Goose. Press Y to honk.
Nice. Honk.
So yeah, Untitled Goose Game came out finally.
It did.
Came out last Friday, and we played it. Played through all of it. Well, mostly all of it. I don't think we went back and done the bonus challenges yet, but
it might be too hard.
We got through at least like the quote unquote story.
Yeah.
The main quest, so to say.
Yes.
I remember this game kind of like getting big on Twitter, I think, of all things, because it just got like here's this little trailer of a game House Games was working on, and here's this goose just being and that's the premise of the game.
What an amazing premise of a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the game really is. It's just like Goose being an
You get to play as a goose. You get to honk at people. There's a dedicated honk button.
Honk.
So you could do that. You could just repeatedly do that.
I did.
Yes. And then basically you go through these many little puzzle areas of the game, and you have little goals to do and knock off your list, and you just keep doing that until you finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to be a goose.
And it's great.
It's really good.
So your goose, like, you originally start like out in this like wooded area, and you go to a pond, and then you can cross it, and you get to like this garden.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when I was like, oh, this is fun, because you just get to make his life.
You just get to mess with him in all sorts of ways. Because basically all of the mechanics of the game is just like you have a button to grab stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's dependent on like how high or low you are. There's a button to where you just flap your wings. You're like, hi. Also, there's of course the honk button. But basically, you're going around and grabbing stuff and just making people's lives a living.
Yep.
Because that's what geese do.
It's true. I've often told people the story of I went on a date with this guy once, and there was some geese around, and he decided he was gonna like go fight the geese, and he didn't get another date because it was like, oh, this guy makes really terrible life decisions. Like, if you honestly think that it's a good idea for you to fight a goose, like, and especially not one goose, it's multiple geese.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you clearly don't make good decisions in life, and I don't want any part of that. You're going to die by goose.
We had geese at our school.
Ooh, boy.
that just like decided to hang out there when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
They would just be there at times.
Does every college have geese?
I guess so.
I mean,
They just
Alabama
congregate
doesn't.
there. I remember one time I was doing mulch for this one people's yard, and
Mm-hmm.
they lived like right by the river, and there was times when there would be geese out there, and they were like, "Whatever you do, don't go near those geese. Don't do it." I
Did
was
you
like, "All
listen?
right." Yeah, I mean, I didn't get murdered by a goose, so I'm pretty sure I listened.
Good. Um, yeah, I mean it's legitimately just like you're given tasks to do in each thing. So like usually one of the tasks is like take a collection of items to this one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is also like take items from people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, although there was one that I had a really hard time with, which is like um there was a garden at one point with like the couples who were fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and you're supposed to like make him go barefoot, and I'm like trying to steal the man's
Yeah,
shoes. I was like, oh, this is so hard.
that was a tough one.
It was really hard. He got very mad at me.
He did. You can terrorize a child by locking him in a phone booth.
Oh my god, that was so sad.
So like, stay in there.
But then you get on TV.
You do get on TV, and then they censor you by throwing you out. That's the real censorship there. I don't want to be talking about no weird censorship of anime boobs. I want to talk about Goose censorship. That is the position I'm going to put my stake in.
I mean, I agree with you.
Where are all those people crying about game censorship now? Why haven't they taken up this cause?
Mm,
I mean, we know why, but anyways. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun little game you can beat in you can beat the main quest in like a couple of hours, and it's just you get to be a goose and just run around being an ass, and that's fine. It's fine and fun. It's very cathartic.
it is very cathartic.
Just run around and just terrorize people.
I mean, even like things that it didn't tell me to do, I was just like, all right, time to break everything. It was great.
There's at least two people there who are okay with you, but everyone else is just like, who is this goose?
Who's okay with me?
There's the two ladies at the restaurant.
Oh, right. They were excited because you can like
They
mimic
tell you to
their
do stuff, and you do it, and
and
they're
do
like,
it.
yay!
Here's that thing.
And you're like, yeah. The one people who like me, and everyone else you just terrorize.
Yeah.
Them you're cool with.
Yeah. Although they do like hide out if you like once everybody's started to go a little chaotic in that area, they're like, we're gonna stay away from you.
Mm-hmm. But they know what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that just running around being a goose would be fun?
Honestly, like I never would have thought that that would be a fun concept, and
Mhm.
that I played it and I'm like, okay, never mind. This is amazing.
Now you know.
It's so fun. And I was not expecting that ending. Even though like I realized once they told me what to do, I was like, oh, that's what that was at the beginning.
So,
Okay.
obviously, we have the beginning. There's two paths to you that you can look through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a path behind you and a path forward. I took the path forward and did not look behind me.
Really?
So I did not know what was happening until I got to the end. I was like, oh, okay. I get it. I'm a So I didn't realize that was the thing until the very, very end, because I never looked back, because I thought going back would be the way to go. So I was like, I'm just going to go forward, and just kept going forward.
You missed out.
I clearly missed out by looking at and seeing what the big spoiler was.
I didn't even think about it until like I got that mission, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, because you really wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. Like, just the premise of the game was you're just being an.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to edit so many curses in this one.
It's better than the other podcast we did.
Oh yeah, you would never want to edit that one. One of my favorite things though is locking that really mean shopkeeper in her garage.
Mm-hmm. She's
That
a
was
jerk.
that was
She
so
tries to hit you
satisfying.
with her broom all the time. I'm like, no.
I took the broom away, both parts.
Good.
And she kept trying to like go and grab it whenever I would go to the store, and she's like, "Where's my broom?" Like, I took it away from you, lady. Like, I literally like first when you break it, like I took the like mop or not mop, the like brush part of it, and I went and dumped it in the water back where like the garden area was, like the chair there,
Oh my
and then
god.
like I eventually like snuck behind her and got the pole part and drug it over there.
Amazing.
And then every time she's like, "Where's my broom?" Like, you can't hit me with anything now, lady. God, I'm such a vengeful little goose. Like, untying that boy's shoes made me feel so bad.
But then he stole his glasses.
Did steal his glasses.
And then gave him more different glasses.
I did. I'm so mean.
I took his original glasses and put them on the thing for the lady to sell. Here you
Did she
go.
sell it to him? Or...
No, they just stayed on there.
Okay, because she had to sell his plane back to him. Yeah. Apparently, you can like make the gardener buy something back. Like, you have to make him follow you the whole way there and put one of his farming equipment pieces in there, and then she'll tag it and he'll have to buy it back.
Oh my god.
Which, like, what an move that is to like
It really is.
drag him all that way just to make him buy his thing back.
What a jerk. But that's what happens when you're a goose. You're a jerk.
Yep.
That's that. But yeah, Untitled Goose Game. It's good. It's fun.
It's really good.
Obviously it's a short game. It's not very expensive, but it's worth your time.
It is, and I will say, it is actually a really, especially considering it's like a relatively like indie game and all that jazz. Like, it's really pretty.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking game. Like that art style just pops.
Yeah, it looks really great, and I love the way the goose waddles.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's like a sassy waddle. That goose knows he's a butt.
It's true. I mean, I feel like all gooses know their butts.
Probably. I mean, like, I would imagine so. Nice honk. What was your favorite level?
Ooh. Maybe the first or the third.
So the garden or
Yeah.
the wait, both gardens. They're both gardens.
Yeah, I guess they are.
I
Maybe
think
either of those.
I think the split garden was my favorite. That one was clever.
Yeah.
Max, your nipple is out, buddy.
Oh God.
Let's cover you up, honey.
Free the nipple.
Goodness gracious, honey. Honk.
So yeah, Untitled Goose Game. It's good.
It's really good. It was a lot of fun. It's not very long, but there are some bonus quests that you can do. I don't know that I'll do them because they are very, very complicated sometimes, but
But it gives you at least something to do after you've completed the game, quote unquote.
yep. Honk.
Honk honk.
Why'd you lick my forehead?
Some weird things happening over there.
When are they not?
It's true. That is true.
I mean, you've met them.
I have.
You know what they're like.
They are weird boys.
They are weird boys.
But yeah, we played that, and then we barreled through Resident Evil Revelations over the weekend.
We did. What year did this originally come out?
This originally came out in 2012 on the 3DS.
So I played it then.
Mm-hmm. There was ports of it to the computer, the PS3, the Wii U, and the Xbox 360 in 2013, and then it came to PS4 and Xbox One in 2017, and then later in 2017 it came to Switch.
I played it on the 3DS when I
Mhm.
first played it. And when we started playing this, there was only one thing I could tell you that I remembered.
Yes.
And all it was is like, I remember something to do with zombies and the vents. And we're like, oh, okay, this will be fine. So I guess like we should give context of what this game is. You're
Mhm.
playing as Jill with her partner Not Barry.
Not Barry. His name is Parker, but
His
he's
name
not Barry.
Not Barry. um and so Jill and Not Barry are on the Queen Zenobia,
Mhm.
which is a Titanic-esque ship.
Yes. Also, this game is set in between Resident Evil 4 and 5, so in between a good game and the worst game in the series.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um so yeah, it's set between that time period, and they have been told that Chris is missing, and that this new like this terrorist group that was alive like a year ago has been
Reformed.
reformed, I guess. Yeah. Also, there was like this big tragic event a year ago where like this like town like Terraglesia or something is what it's called, had a big disco ball on it. Just got like obliterated um by like weird satellite things.
Mm-hmm.
So Jill and Not Barry are on the Queen Zenobia looking for Chris, and it is Beefy Chris, in
It
case
is
anyone was
beefy
wondering.
Chris Redfield.
Beefy Chris is here. So you're wandering around on the Zenobia, and you're like in the lower decks, and you originally this is what I thought I remembered. It's like there's some creepy dudes. They like are hanging out in the vents. I'm like, okay, all right. Like we're going through the bathrooms. We have to scan a bunch of stuff all the
Mm-hmm.
time, which is an interesting mechanic. That like you literally just scan things in the game for health. Um and eventually Jill comes across this like event where she sees a woman like thrown against the glass, and we're like, oh, that's not healthy. Um
That's not healthy.
it's not. And it's just like blood everywhere. And she goes in, and she's like, oh, I don't think she made it. Oh no. Bye. Um Also, this lady has her hammer hammers just all out. What an impractical outfit.
The first of a few impractical outfits we will see in this game.
Yeah, fair. Speaking of impractical outfits, Jill's outfit is really impractical as well. She has like a weird like boob strap that enhances her bust line. Um so eventually they are able to unlock the door that they have seen Beefy Chris Redfield in. And she's like, Chris, what's up, dude? And his head falls off. He's a mannequin. And then Zero from Zero Escape comes in and is like, bye, guys, and like smokes them out.
You are a
Different Resident Evil game. And not Resident Evil, Zero Escape game. Brain fart. So yeah, then Jill and Not Barry are knocked out by the gas. And I don't remember what happens here.
They gotta go find their because they're weaponless.
Right. They wake up in the upper cabins on the sweet beds.
Mm-hmm.
Jill has to like drain the tub for the screwdriver.
It's gross.
It is real gross.
It's real grody.
Um,
I think also we have to mention.
Okay.
This is an episodic game.
It is an episodic game, and previously on Resident Evil Revelation.
So you get like a previously thing on when you go into each different episode, or if you come back to the game after like saving and quitting, which is really good. I'm a big fan.
And it's hilarious because like it was on 3DS, so I guess it makes sense that they would do it that way.
But it wasn't technically episodic on 3DS. It was still like the full game. You would buy the full game.
Right. It's a very odd decision, but
like unlike Revelations 2, which we are currently playing, like that it was an actual episodic game. So like it makes sense that like it had previously on and then next time on type things. Like this having it is just this having it is similar to how like Alan Wake had it. Where they were trying to present it as like a TV show.
Yeah, it really has that vibe.
Mm-hmm. Also, I would say like this is more of a return to form of like this being like an actual survival horror game compared to 4 and 5 was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was probably the biggest surprise for me, considering most of the Resident Evil games since 4 have basically kind of fallen into that same formula of being more action oriented, like outside of like 7,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being more horror themed. While this kind of flip flops it a bit, like it's still actiony, like with just the way it controls, because it's a game, it's a Resident Evil game that was made after Resident Evil 4, so of course it's going to be. But way more horror stuff in this game than I was anticipating. A lot of squeals from someone else,
Oh
someone on the
no.
other side of the line when we were playing.
Oh no. No. Um
Which, in fairness, was a good warning system that something was coming up.
yeah, so we were playing it simultaneously. But we were also doing it like on voice chat so
Mm-hmm.
that we could like experience it together.
Yeah.
Um and there were several times that like something was happening on my end and I was just like screeching. You're like, what is happening? Um I don't think I've screeched that much playing a game in a while.
I don't think so either.
Um like I didn't screech like that in playing Resident Evil 2, which we talked about when we were playing this.
Mm-hmm.
That like it just wasn't. I thought maybe it was the like like closed corridors in this one that maybe did a little bit of it because you don't have enough room to maneuver. But you're saying RE2 has some of that too, which is true. But then like I just keep thinking of that time that I like weirdly juked like Mr. X through that door.
It's really good. Maybe it
Um,
also helped that I was like kind of coaching you through that game. Not coaching, but like telling you exactly, like we were like kind of like plotting out where to go.
yeah,
So maybe that kind of helped as well, because we went into this mostly just blind and going through it that way. But I
yeah.
don't know.
I uh I got real scared several times, and we'll talk about the part where I got real
Mm-hmm.
scared. Um, it also didn't help at all that Loki decided to be a goose. Um, while we were playing it, that he's like, I'm gonna make all kinds of sounds
Well, that
behind
was
you.
when we were playing 2.
Yeah, but still, like
But
he's
yeah, you're right.
what being a butt.
It was just like a bunch of stuff just falling down. You're like, Loki, stop that! This is spooky times. Do not make all this noise. What are you doing?
I could have sworn he did it once in one.
He might have. I just remember it specifically a lot in 2.
Yeah, it happened a lot in two, but he was also being very loud during two for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. But he he decided to be a chaos kitty for a while.
Which, I mean, that's just his thing.
His name is Loki.
Exactly.
Like, does the name make the cat or does the cat make the name?
Both.
Both. I told my mom once, I'm like, I wonder how much of a chaos cat he would be if I had named him like Flower. But she still thinks he would have been pretty chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, you plucked him out of a bush.
I plucked him out of a bush. Not only did I pluck him out of a bush, but all the other kitties in his litter were super, super nice and just let me pet them and like sat in my hand. I picked up Loki and he started climbing me and screeching at the top of his lungs. And I was like, I want this one. So, like, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't expect it when I was playing scary games.
Mm-hmm.
He's over here now, like, hello, will you pet me?
Are you talking about me?
Hi. Um, so yeah, you wake up eventually with Jill and you're in this like bed area. You have to get your screwdriver and um you're going through like the upper fancy cabins. You eventually find Naperia again. And also your gear.
Mm-hmm.
And when do we run into Scrunchy?
It's after this, because basically you get your gear and you have to go find the bridge to see if you can get communications, and then someone comes up and pulls a gun on you.
Pulls a gun, oh no! And he looks like he ate just like 3
It's
lemons.
like someone just like did like the smoosh face, but then it just left his face permanently like that.
It's like
It's like someone put his nose under like a flattener, he put his nose in a vice grip, and then just like left him there for a day, and then his nose was just like that for the rest of his life.
I was gonna say that like It's like somebody scrunched his face like in Mario 64, like how you have the
Yeah.
maybe like that.
But either way, he's got a real scrunch face.
He has a very scrunched face. It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, so his name is oh Jesus, Raymond?
Yes.
Um
Everybody loves Raymond.
Everybody loves Scrunchy. Um so Scrunchy is like potentially a bad guy. Like he does hold a gun to you, so that's obviously not a good thing. But then he just kind of like walks off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, bye, I guess. Um and he talks about how he had a partner named Rachel on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And Jill's like, oh, I wonder if it was that lady I just saw get like destroyed downstairs. I hope not, because she's dead. Um, so at one point we like go to check because there's something that she might potentially have. It's like a key or something. I don't remember what it is.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so we go down there and she's not there.
She's not there. Now she's a zombie.
Well, you find like her notebook and Jill's like, I don't know who could have possibly written this.
Like, Jill, please.
Jill, please.
You're the master of unlocking. Except in this game, because you're not.
Yeah, she sucks at unlocking in this game. So yeah, she's a zombie, and this is where the owl screeches really came into play.
It very much did.
It was really upsetting.
Because you have to like try and defeat her, but she keeps going through like the vents and stuff to get away and try and get the jump on you.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like,
Yep, basically that. Yeah, it sucked. I was so scared. I was super duper scared. And this is where we like again, I said at the beginning about zombies and vents.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that it was like the baseline zombies because like that happens a couple times in the beginning. We're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then we get to here. And I was like, this is what I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
This is horrific and I'm so scared. It was hard for me to get through.
But you got through it.
I did get through it, but it was let's just say not easy.
It was a lot of screeching and just panicking and trying to win.
Yeah. A lot of that. And I felt kind of bad because I kept like screeching at you.
It was fine.
It was it definitely a thing. Man, this game is it's spooky at times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you got as spooked as I did, but
Nah. But again, like I said, I had a good warning system.
right. Except for when you got ahead of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I guess that makes sense that you had a warning system. That's funny. I know that you go through the casino at one point.
I'm gonna do some gambling.
Also, you have like interspersed scenes. Turns out Chris is fine. There was some like faulty information. Also, there are two ships. Spoiler alert. And so Chris and Jessica, his very jealous partner,
who you knew only as she has a winter hat.
Winter Hat Lady.
And that was all you knew.
Yep, Winter Hat Lady. Turns out Winter Hat Lady also is out lady.
Yeah. Again, bad outfits in this game.
Ooh, that outfit is real bad.
It's not good.
It's like a wetsuit, but one leg is out and like both of her butt cheeks are somehow hanging out.
And like
And
she doesn't tighten all of her hair, so like half like just a chunk of her hair is just sticking out.
yep,
It's like, what are you doing?
it makes no sense.
You get a better outfit.
And
Stop
then
showing
Chris
off
is
your
just like,
leggy.
"Why is your leggy out in the zombie apocalypse?"
They're gonna chomp that.
Um, but the whole time she's like, "Chris, I want you to pay attention to me." He's like, "Off, I'm busy." Ah.
There's a scene
Um.
later where like all four of them finally get to meet up. Spoilers.
Mhm.
But the boat shakes and she just like dramatically falls on the Chris like, oh no, and he's just like picks her up, like takes like her arms off and just like, please get off me.
He just like shoves her off, and she's like, he
Get away.
clearly doesn't get the hint when she's talking to Nightberry, and he's like, maybe he's already taken. And
No,
it's like,
Chris Redfield is only got one thing on his mind, and that's getting beefier.
and ice cream, and what did we decide?
Shakespeare in
Love?
love, and also just like, this is my life now. I gotta fight zombies. That's what I do.
Yeah, like he doesn't have time for this nonsense. Like,
When he gets time to retire and settle down, maybe. But
not with
but for
her.
now, he's gonna bulk up,
Not with her.
not get with her.
Like,
I
she
don't see
sucks.
Chris Redfield settling down with someone who he's worked with.
If he settles down with anybody, you know it's gonna be Jill.
I hope not. I want him to settle down with someone not attached to this series, so he can be happy and not have to think about zombies 24/7.
That would be smart, honestly. Like,
Let my boy Chris Redfield be happy and
Imagine
beefy.
Chris Redfield like runs into some nice lady at a coffee shop one day and is like, "Do you like Shakespeare in Love? What about mint chocolate ice cream? Would you like to hang out with me and watch Shakespeare in Love?"
Oh man, I had to really hold back not spitting out all that water I was trying to drink.
I'm so sorry.
Wow, that was tough.
I'm sorry.
That almost was real bad.
Was it that bad?
No, because I was about to spit water because it was so you said something funny.
What if she likes Shakespeare in Love?
That would be real good.
Um, that's what I'm gonna think. Um, you know, he deserves some kind of like break after all this, and after all the people being weirdly jealous. Like, everybody needs to calm down. Like, him and Jill were partners on like what, one mission?
Are they partners in Code Veronica, or is he with Claire?
I think he's with Claire.
So I guess if you count those two missions, basically.
And they're all like, "Oh, Jill was your partner before. Do you trust me as much as Jill?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, guys! Like,
He's
Jesus."
had multiple partners since then, guys. It's fine.
Yeah, like, it's fine. I don't think that Chris is like, and every single time he says the same thing. He's like, "We're all partners." Like, that's it. And nobody ever listens to him.
Why don't people listen to Chris Redfield? You see those guns? He's put a lot of hard work in, but also he's put a lot of hard work on his noggin.
He has.
He's worked that out as well.
He has. We get some interspersed scenes with like these two jokers. One of them is called Jack.
And literally, that's his code name.
Yeah, and the other one, I know his name's Quincy, but I don't remember what his code name was.
But regardless, they're weird segments that are just like,
It feels very hokey.
yeah, like they're just like, we needed to throw in some comedy segments in here for whatever reason.
But also, one of the comedy segments just has a massive shape of like fighting hunters and doggos.
Mm-hmm.
And like they give you 2 rocket launchers and like a tiny room for some reason. And no ammo. There's like very little ammo in that room.
Yeah.
Oof. That sucked. So that was a weird little segment there. But yeah, you like bounce between different elements, and my favorite thing is that like if they're trying to be sort of like clever with the time, which like I put clever in air quotes, they're like some time ago, or like in the present time or something like that. What are you talking about? Just say what time it is. Because throughout the game, it's like, this happened at 5:13 a.m.
They didn't want to confuse people, clearly.
Um. Also, Jessica shot Scrunchy at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and Not Barry mourned him pretty hard. And then you had like the flashback of like they all worked together last year in the Terraglesia incident.
Yep.
Hmm.
Which, like, the second time you go back for a flashback with them, it's a real bad section.
Oh god, it sucks.
It's not great. Also, there's a lot of swimming in this game, and the swimming's not great.
Nope, the swimming's really not great.
It reminded me a lot of the swimming in Metal Gear Solid 2, which is a good game, but the swimming in that game is not great.
Answer me this.
Yes.
Are there any games that actually have good swimming?
That's a great question.
I can't think of one.
I feel like there's probably games that are just based around in water that like have to have good swimming to be just like workable.
Yeah.
So there's probably some that are like that I just never played. But if it's a game that just has like a water level, underwater level, a swimming section of some kind, for the most part, it's usually bad.
Mm-hmm. So, as we've learned, there are two ships at this point. One is Zenobia. I forgot what the other one is. It starts with an S. And we see a scene. I guess we should, spoiler alert. Jessica's a baddie. Which I kept saying like that was the case.
Yeah, we had our theories of basically like the two non-main characters from Resident Evil are probably either going to die or one of them is going to be the villain.
Yep. So she's like, haha, I am trying to cover my tracks, and that's why I killed Raymond. But Raymond's not dead. And
can't kill that scrunchy face.
Then Raymond shows up and is like, I'm pointing my gun at you. You can't hit that self-destruct button.
You're the real bad person.
Then Not Barry thinks with his
yes, he does.
He
was really looking forward to that lobster dinner she promised a year ago.
He really wanted that lobster dinner. Is that what they're calling it these days? And so he's like, no, Raymond, we can't shoot her. And she's like, hi, you shoots him and then hits the self-destruct button. And you see like the other ship blow up, but you're supposed to think that it's the ship you're on. You're like, oh no, we're all dead.
But the self-destruct has been activated on this ship.
Yep. So there's a lot of running around on the ship that like this ship is about to be destroyed. Like when it's sinking, you're still running around on it.
You're running around an underground lab on it.
Yeah,
that's somehow impervious to all of like the water leaking that's happening on other parts of the ship. Also, one thing that's bad about this game, there's a ton of backtracking.
A ton, and also there are time limits on things. Yeah, which is very anxiety-inducing. So you eventually like get the reveal from Jack of all people. They're like, oh no, your boss has been the one who's been orchestrating this whole like revival of the terrorist group.
The head of the BSAA.
Yes, that guy. Who really likes Dante's Inferno?
Yeah. Apparently these Revelations games, they really like to just pick one piece of literature and just go with it.
Yeah, because this one is all about Dante's Inferno. Like it's referenced several times with like both like him and his boss.
And then there's just like a giant copy of the book on the dude's desk.
It's very, very weird. But yeah, so he's been behind it. He basically, what's the right word here? Reveal that his boss has been doing some shady
and he's doing this to like bring him out and try and capture and like trick him into capturing him essentially.
Right. But the guy's like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
We're gonna arrest you.
Yeah. So that starts happening at one point as he's getting arrested, and he's like, all right, this is fine, I guess.
But also,
Also,
there's a third boat.
there's a third boat.
The boat that was there a year ago during the Terra Galicia incident.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is where the actual terrorist leader from a year ago has been hiding out
For a year.
for a year.
I was like, how is this man alive?
Good question.
It's very weird. Um, but yeah, he's alive and hanging out. Um, sure, he's like filming himself. Also, again, underwater segments.
Mhm.
Because this ship is mostly sunk.
It's very much sunk.
Yeah, well, there's some parts that are not underwater.
Well, there's some parts that aren't submerged, like they don't have water in them, but the whole ship is underwater.
Yeah. What else? What else? What else? What else? There's these blob guys that suck. Also Chris decides he's gonna like play with some wires while he's underwater.
There's a moment where you go into this underground lab and you first like walk in and there's like these little gates and then you can see they have like lasers coming out of them. And to test and see how they are effective, Chris Redfield decides, I'm gonna walk into these lasers and see how effective they are.
Yep.
That is a thing he does in this game.
Yep.
He walks in
Yep.
and he's like, oh.
Ah.
It's like, what did you think was going to happen? You fool.
It's really funny.
God.
So yeah, I guess like we go in and we see the terrorist man's made a video and he's gonna like reveal all the negative things that the other big boss guy has done.
And we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, sure, fine. Do that.
But of course he has to do the trademark, copyright restricted Resident Evil villain thing that you have to do when you're a main villain, and that is take your virus that you have developed.
Mm-hmm.
So he does that.
And Chris at one point is like, why does somebody do this? And it's like, Chris Redfield.
Why would someone do this to themselves? Like, buddy. Buddy. What do you mean? Oh my god.
This boss fight sucked.
Oh yeah, this boss fight is terrible. Like, it's legitimately awful.
It
Not
sucks so
fun.
bad.
The whole like mechanics around it are bad. The hit detection on the boss is terrible. It's
Chris does nothing the whole
Chris
time.
literally just stands there and shoots and does nothing.
No damage.
Like, he could just literally just be taking a nap for all that matters. That's how ineffective he is. And I think like just in general, like the last couple of chapters are pretty bad gameplay wise. Yeah. Like it in terms of gameplay, it ends on a wet fart.
Yep.
But yeah, you have to like. So the way this boss works is that like his chest will open up and show his heart, but it opens up when he's about to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to shoot him like before he attacks you, and sometimes like even if you are able to hit it, it still won't do anything, or like you just get like in a bad position and can't turn around quick enough to be able to hit him. It's just not good. And then eventually he gets like there's like stages to the fight where like the second stage he'll send out like holograms of himself, and you have to like figure out which one's the real version. And in the third stage, he's like sending them out very rapidly and like moving around very quickly and and you have to like figure out which one's him again and be able to shoot him before you get attacked. And it's a bad boss fight. It's a really bad boss fight.
But even if you like get away from him, like for some reason his attack still like knocks you on the ground.
Yeah,
But
the range on his like his slam attacks are like really ridiculous.
but they don't do anything to Chris.
No, he's over there shooting,
Doing nothing. I'm gonna blame his beef.
just sitting there shooting. That's it.
With a pistol. No. Like that's I mean, in true Chris form, really. That's
Yes.
what he usually does.
I mean, the
but-
cutscene before you're about to fight is like you both have your pistols out. It's like that's not. No, we're not doing that.
Mm-mm.
That's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Also we pick up a PDA.
Yes, this game does take place in 2005.
Yep.
So the technology is very representative of 2005. Which, you know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like,
The
I'm okay
PDA
with
is
that.
hilarious, though.
Yeah.
The PDA to take it all down, and then like you see the cutscene of like the BSAA guy who was getting arrested is like, but now we're arresting you, and you're like, what? What do you mean? How does that
The
work?
big swerve.
It's very, very weird, and I'm like, how? I thought he was handcuffed, and you're like, no, I guess he's arresting him now. Like, okay, I guess that's what's happening.
Sure.
It's odd. I mean, I guess that could be said about a lot of this game.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
We get a press. Let me try again. Post credit scene.
Yeah. Apparently, you also find out that Not Barry lived because there's a point where you're trying to escape with him after he gets shot by Jessica, and he just lets himself drop into some fire, and then Scrunchy Face finds him, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna get out of here." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I guess." And then I guess you find out he lived, and he's fine.
Yeah, originally, like he was fighting Scrunchy Face. It was like, no, leave me. Scrunchy Face is like, no, you saved me. I'm not gonna leave you here. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch.
My face is still very scrunchy.
So he like hauls him bodily out. He's like washed up on the shore of this place. It's like, what do you mean he was washed up on the shore? Like,
That's how
Did you
that
just-
works.
throw him in the ocean after that? Like, all right, you're survived and like, or you survived. You are alive and you have a bullet wound. Here, just go in the ocean and wash up on this island. Like,
I'll just let it just float on away.
what are you talking about? He washed up. But yeah, he's alive.
The BSA director like resigns and then is now writing detective novels.
Detective novels. What
He's
a
like,
life.
yeah, good.
What a life with his Dante's Inferno he took with him.
God.
It's hilarious.
We also get to see a cutscene of the DLC from 5 of the mansion the DLC where Chris and Jill investigate. And it's like, Chris and Jill have no idea of the horrors that await them. And I was like, yeah, they're about to get into a real game.
Yeah. No kidding. Oof.
But yes, we do get a post-credit scene, which is in this like cafe, and you see someone reading Dante's Inferno backwards. And the camera eventually shows that it's Jessica. She has survived the incident and is alive and well.
Has a big hat.
Big hat. She's not showing off her leggy.
Upgrade.
And then someone comes to visit her and drops off the T-Abyss virus, which is the big virus in this game. Gives it to her, and it's Scrunchy Face.
Scrunchy Face.
So apparently they were working together.
So I researched this. Because,
Thankfully, one of us did.
I was very curious. I'm like, what the heck is happening right here? So they're triple agents, which is the most Resident Evil thing ever. They work for Tricell, the company in 5.
Off.
Yeah.
Off.
I was like, what? They're triple agents? Like, oh my god.
Look, when Metal Gear decided to invoke triple agents in their game, they waited at least until like the 3rd or 4th game to really double down or triple down on that. Not just like this is some post-credits reveal.
I mean, it was bizarre. But yeah, they are triple agents. They work for Tricell.
Dumb.
Um, and apparently they just never come up again.
That's the fate they deserve.
Yeah, which again, like very true to Resident Evil.
Yeah, because apparently we've talked about they made Revelations 2 and we were currently making our way through that. But the whole idea of that game was like not to do any references at all to Revelations 1, except for like they mentioned, like one of the characters mentioned she lived at Terra Galicia before the incident, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But everything else apparently is just not related in the slightest.
Right.
Which you would think with this post-credit scene that they made, that would be the setup for the next game.
It's not. Instead we get Claire, who looks 40.
Yeah, Claire looks so old. It's very weird.
Actually, she probably looks older than 40.
Yeah. I don't get it.
I mean, we talked about she would be older, but I don't know that she would be that much older.
Yeah. Maybe part of that is just like the new version of RE2 Claire clouding my judgment of that, but also like I don't think she would look that old.
No, I don't either, and nah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So like overall, what were your thoughts on this game? Because we talked about how this is the kind of Resident Evil we like because the story is basically a lot of just bat insanity, and the game kind of just knows that and is going along with it, unlike Resident Evil 5 was. So like I really appreciated that part of the game.
I did. Some of the gameplay sucked.
Yeah, I think the gameplay really like holds it back.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how much of that is that this was originally a 3DS game.
Probably a lot of it.
That's true. Which is interesting because like the Wikipedia page mentions that like this was the first game outside of Japan to support the Circle Pad Pro that gave the 3DS dual analog sticks. So like that might be part of it, but also just like the gameplay just felt very mediocre. And I think considering like what Capcom had made up to that point with 4 and 5 and how well they play, and then like what they're going to do later on in 2012 with 6 with how well that plays. Like this really just does not feel up to the par of those games, which I mean, granted, like we said, it's a 3DS game. This isn't a main console game until they re-release it on main consoles. So like that's going to have something to do with it. But yeah, like the gameplay is very just mediocre.
As we mentioned though, I got pretty spooked several times.
Yeah, like I think as a return to horror, more of a return to horror than the previous games. Like I think it works pretty well in that aspect, and surprisingly so.
I did have a moment though that I was really worried that I would not be able to beat the game. We were trying to figure out like what we would do if that were the case. Turns out that they were hokey, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But there was this document that was like, sharks are really good for this virus. They make really great armored enemies. And I'm like, oh God, no.
You were like, no. And I was like, all right, we're gonna figure this out. Like, just stay back. Well, if these enemies are actual sharks, we'll just share play it. I'll get you through that section, and we'll just keep on going.
Because I was thinking like RE1, like Neptune, like
or 6,
or 6. I think Neptune still is the scariest one because he's like an actual shark. Like the other one is a shark too, and he's like a weird monstrosity shark. But like Neptune looks like a great white,
like an actual shark, not like just like a giant, unrealistic looking shark.
Right, and so like he's probably like my worst nightmare. But yeah, when I was reading that, I'm like, oh no. But yeah, they're really hokey looking.
They were like they have shark teeth, but they have like little like hoods over them. Yeah. So like they're hiding their faces, and they have like giant shields. They're real weird looking.
They're really weird.
They're real goofy.
Like, once we got there, I was like, oh no, we're fine. Never mind. But yeah, there were legitimately moments where I was pretty scared and may have blown your ears out a little bit. Sorry.
Nah, it's fine, buddy.
But you have got to hear the owl version of the Biggie.
Yeah. There was definitely a portion where you were squealing for like a good solid like 5 to 10 seconds. Just straight. You were running away from him or Hummers.
She was scary and she kept coming back.
And like the most inopportune times, you're just like, off. I don't
Yeah,
have
it's like,
time for you.
go away. Put your boobs away.
Shove your hammer-hammers in someone else's face.
For real. Like, I don't want... Chris Redfield does not need these hammer-hammers. He's waiting for his cafe lady who really likes Shakespeare in Love.
Oh my god.
But instead, he gets this hammer-hammers lady.
Yeah.
And Jill's like, I guess I gotta deal with you now. But she also, like, the hammer-hammers lady, when she's, like, in the vents, like, says things and, like, giggles and stuff, and it freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. Do not want. But yeah, so we'll see how 2 goes. We haven't... I think we're halfway through?
We are halfway through. We've done 2 of the 4 episodes, and I think there's some bonus episodes as well, but we will get to those later. Apparently the writer of this game has done some interesting work in his catalog.
Oh.
He was the first thing he was a big writer on was this little anime called Cowboy Bebop.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wild.
So that's something.
Mm-hmm.
It's real wild. He did some Ghost in the Shell work. I think on some like the side things they did. Samurai Champloo. He did some work on Eden of the East. One of the Lupin the Third spinoffs. So that's
wow.
That is something.
What credentials?
Yeah.
And then you wrote Resident Evil Revelations, huh?
I mean, it's not terrible.
It's not. The story of it is very, very fun. It is exactly the that I want for a Resident Evil game. Honestly,
he was the 2006 winner of Best Screenplay at the Tokyo International Anime Fair for his work on Eureka 7.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is like the high quality Resident Evil that I am looking for when I get into one of these games. People can say all they want that Resident Evil has been a serious franchise. It is not a serious franchise.
It has never been a serious franchise.
It has never been a serious franchise. It is stuff like this, and it's amazing. And like, it's only amazing if you accept that that's what it is. Like, if you want it to be like a serious, like, scary franchise, you're not gonna get that for Resident Evil, and you never were. Like, it's some kind of like rose tinted glasses that you got. And I mean, like 7 I think is probably the closest you're gonna get to that now, because it's a very different style. Yeah. But
like, these are popcorn flicks.
Yeah, and they're fun.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can that's why art is so like just
subjective,
diverse and subjective. Like, you can have these kinds of things, you can have your super serious horror type things as well. Like, there's room for both of that. Doesn't have to be one or the other.
I mean, again, I will point to the fact that 4 had a like weird tiny Napoleonic guy who also had a giant statue of himself that chases you.
Yep.
In a quick time event. Like, if that doesn't like sum up that this game is ridiculous, I don't know what does. God, I love Resident Evil.
Well, we will be discussing Revelations 2 at some point when we eventually get around to finishing it. And we will be definitely talking about the weird ways that it does co-op.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Which is, that is something.
Oof.
I'm going to point a lot, though.
We will talk about points and bricks.
Pointing and bricking and crowbars. All that sort of stuff. But yes, we will talk about Revelations 2 at some point down the line. Just whenever we get around to finishing it.
Yeah.
But that's going to pretty much wrap this episode up.
Honk.
Honk, honk. I don't have the thing pulled up anymore, but yes. We honked. We boated. We
got some hammer hammers in our face.
Got hammer hammers in our face.
And we have written out a romantic love tale for Chris Redfield whenever he finishes being a zombie hunter.
That's the real Resident Evil.
The real Resident Evil is the friends we made along the way.
God damn it. Uh,
This is why you're friends with
it's
me.
true. If you'd like more from us, go to seasonalcheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Checkup and Jared Now Watch, which the fourth season of Jared Now Watch began this Wednesday.
It did.
If you want to hop in on a new series that we were talking about, now's the time to do so.
First one that is not dubbed.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We also have columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. So we do Twitter. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA if you would like to support this very podcast and listen to unedited versions of the podcast.
Amongst other things.
And you get to hear them like days earlier than when they actually go live.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we recorded a dumb bonus podcast that's only for Patreon users or supporters, where it was just us talking about music compilation albums.
Yep.
It was a full hour of just that.
It was fun.
It was real
super
fun and real dumb, but that's the kind of things. Those bonus episodes are very sporadic. Mostly just we do them whenever we have a good idea, and I think that was a good idea for one.
Yeah.
Because it's not something we would do for this podcast specifically, but just
no.
And also because all the music we there was in that cannot be able to put that out for the whole for everyone. But yeah, that's a bonus thing you can get if you support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. You just throw in $1 and you get access to that. And
yay!
The whole back catalog of unedited episodes and everything.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. Oh god, are we just turning to juggalos all of a sudden?
That was not what I was thinking, but wow.
All right. Well, anyways, next week we'll do something. You will have I by that point, so maybe we'll be able to talk about that.
Yeah, it'll depend on how much I can get. I hope that I can beat it by then.
I will say my play time of that game was like 24 hours.
Okay.
So it's not super long.
And if I get stuck on something, I can just ask you.
Yep, totally.
You are now my walkthrough.
I'll try to remember stuff. But yeah, we might talk about that. If not, we'll talk about something else. Who knows? But we will see you then.
I wish I had a triangle.